Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to give it about a minute to let everybody in from the waiting room, and then we will get started. All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're very excited. Welcome to the first NF Knowledge Series webinar. This is a new monthly educational webinar that is designed for patients and families living with NF. My name is Kate, and I work with the Children's Tumor Foundation in patient education and engagement, and I will be your host today. The closed captions are available, and they're provided by a live captioner. You can find that by clicking the CC button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. We're also recording this event, and it will be made available on the CTF YouTube channel within a week to 2 weeks when that's ready to post. You'll also receive it for having registered today via email. Please use the Q&A to ask questions during our presentation today. And if you submitted a question ahead of time when you registered, we do have those, and we'll ask as many questions as time allows for at the end of our presentation. I'm very excited today to introduce and welcome Dr. Yang Ho. She is joining us. I'm just putting some things in the housekeeping. So housekeeping in the chat if you would like to see those things I just told you. So Dr. Ho is an assistant professor in the Department of Behavioral Sciences and Social Medicine and the director of the Development, Equity, and Resilience Lab at the College of Medicine, Florida State University. Dr. Ho's research focuses on the biopsychosocial factors influencing neurobehavioral development, including cognitive, academic, socio-emotional, and behavioral domains, among underrepresented groups, particularly families affected by rare diseases like NF1. Her current work leverages innovative and advanced quantitative methods to uncover patterns and predictors of neurobehavioral development across the lifespan in those living with NF1, and with the ultimate goal of designing interventions to improve neurobehavioral functioning. It's my pleasure now to welcome Dr. Ho, and I'll be handing things off to her. Thank you, Dr. Ho.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today. Let me start sharing the screen. Can you see my slides?
Yes, looks great.
Okay, great. Okay, so before diving into today's topic, I'd like to share a bit about my journey into this field. So I grew up in a small, impoverished village in China, where educational opportunities are rare. Only 3 of us from my cohort ever attended college, while my peers faced challenging paths, including early parenthood, incarceration, or even tragic loss. I become deeply curious about what drives such divergent life trajectories. This inspired me to pursue psychology and human development with the goal of helping individuals overcome challenges and achieve better outcomes. In the final year of my PhD in University of Texas and Austin, my family was struck by the huge impact of cancer, which touched every aspect of our lives. This experience sparked my interest in understanding how unpredictable diseases affect individuals and their families. Around that time, I found a postdoctoral opportunity with the psychology group and the National Cancer Institute. There, I joined the natural history study of patients with NF1, starting a challenging but deeply rewarding journey into NF1 research. So today, I will first share what I have learned about neurobehavioral function in individuals with NF1 over the past 6 years of research. Then I will discuss what we still need to learn and how you can contribute. Okay, so first, what is neurobehavioral functioning? Broadly, this term refers to how we think, feel, and behave. In the NF1 population, 4 key domains have been studied, including cognition, such as attention, memory, learning, and emotional well-being, like depression, anxiety, and social functions like social skills, autism, and behavior functions such as hyperactivity. So, why it is important to study neurobehavioral function? Historically, the NF1 scholarship has focused primarily on physical symptoms, which are critical, of course. However, studying neurobehavioral function is essential to grasp the full impact of NF1. Challenges in cognition, emotion, and behavior significantly affect daily life, including school performance, work productivity, and social relationships. This research also enables the development of targeted interventions. By identifying specific cognitive and emotional challenges, we can create tailored strategies to support individuals, whether through educational accommodations, therapies, or mental health resources. Improving neurobehavioral function directly enhances quality of life. Addressing challenges like attention, anxiety, or executive functioning not only supports mental health, but also positively influences physical health and life expectancy. As chronic stress and mental health struggles often exacerbate medical conditions. Finally, this work advocates for resources and awareness. A deeper understanding of neurobehavioral impacts makes it easier to push for better policies, funding, and support systems for individuals and families affected by NF1. Okay, so YNAB's mission is to better understand and improve neurobehavioral function of individuals with NF1 across the lifespan. We have 4 ongoing research projects. The review project aims to comprehensively synthesize and evaluate current evidence on neurobehavioral function in individuals with NF1. The Integrative Data Analysis Project has created the largest data set on neurobehavioral function in children with NF1 to date, including data from about 2,000 children. We are analyzing this big data set to better understand developmental patterns and predictors. The Cognitive Aging Project aims to understand cognitive aging patterns and biopsychosocial predictors among middle-aged and older adults with NF1. The SMART-NF1 project tracks adolescents' daily neurobehavioral function to explore when and under what conditions they struggle or strive. So our project has been funded by the Department of Defense of the United States, Children's Tumor Foundation, Florida State University, and University of Kentucky. Let's start by looking at findings from the first 2 projects, the review project and the integrative data analysis project. First, why do we need to do systematic reviews and meta-analysis? So you may see results on the same research question may vary across studies depending on study design and sample characteristics. Meta-analysis can synthesize data from multiple studies, providing a comprehensive and unbiased evaluation of evidence. To date, 6 meta-analyses has been published in this area, including 2 recent publications from my lab. These studies provide robust evidence that individuals with NF1, on average, shows lower cognitive function and academic achievement across various domains compared to control groups without NF1. They also highlight more challenges in social function as well as higher risk of autism, ADHD, intralizen, and extralizen problems. However, the extent of challenges vary across the neurobehavioral domains. These findings about group differences are important in highlighting the need for support and intervention. Our review of research on how NF affects thinking and behavior found that most studies compare people with NF1 to those without it at just one time point. This approach overlooks the fact that people with NF1 have a wide range of strengths and challenges, which can also change over time. Let's look at an example of how children with NF1 perform in math over time. In this graph, the y-axis shows math Z-scores, where 0 is the average for kids their age. The x-axis shows 3 points in time: the start, year 3, and year 6. This green line represents the average math scores of the general population, while the red line shows the average math scores for kids with NF1. You will notice that children with NF1 start below the average, and their scores decline further over time, meaning the gap between their and their peers widen across time. However, if you focus on the blank lines, which show individual children, you will see a different picture. You can see some children score close or even above average, and some improve over time. This shows that while NF can present challenges, there's a lot of variation in abilities and outcomes. Now let's look at a broader, broader look at how NF1 affects different skills. The next paragraph shows examples of patterns across skills like IQ, memory, attention, math, reading, and writing. The blue line represents the average child with NF1, who tends to score a bit lower than peers across all areas. But when we look at the individual children, the story changes. For example, child 1, the orange line, has no major challenges in any area. Child 2, the green line, struggles across the board, especially with memory. And child 3, the yellow line, has most difficulty with IQ, math, and writing. These examples show how diverse the experience of children with NF1 can be, and that's why it's so important to provide support tailored to each child's unique needs. There are several critical barriers in the NF1 field, limiting our progress toward a more comprehensive understanding of neurobehavioral functioning within this group. One of the biggest barriers is the small sample size in previous studies. Most prior studies included less than 100 participants. NF1 is a rare condition, so it's hard for any single researcher to recruit a large sample of participants. On top of that, conducting in-depth neurobehavioral assessments requires a lot of time and money. Our solution is to tackle this challenge through collaboration. We have combined data from 11 institutions worldwide, and the data set includes about 2,000 children with NF1 aged 3 to 18 years old. This large data set not only increases the reliability of our findings, but also allows us to use advanced statistical methods to answer important questions we couldn't explore with smaller samples. So with this large combined data set, our integrative data analysis project aims to provide a more comprehensive understanding of neurobehavioral function of children with NF1 through 3 specific aims. For aim 1, we are mapping out how children with NF1 grow and change in cognitive, academic, behavior, and social emotional function. We also identifying the biological and the demographic factors that are related to these patterns. This will help families and doctors better predict what to expect. As a parent myself, I found apps like Baby Center helpful for tracking typical milestones, but families with NF1 often need more tailored insights about what may happen to their children, and this research could provide that. For M2, we are studying how cognitive skills correlate with academic success, behavior, and emotional well-being. This information can guide the development of better, more holistic interventions for children with NF1. Aim 3 is to identify subgroups with different challenges, as not all children with NF1 face the same difficulties. We are exploring how combinations of challenges, like issues with memory, attention, or academic skills, vary across kids, and identifying what factors may predict these patterns. So this could help us figure out who needs the most support and how to personalize their care. We have analyzed a large combined data set to explore how academic achievement and executive function change with age. Right now, we are also looking at age-related patterns in ADHD, as well as emotional and behavioral challenges. Today, I will show some important findings about academic achievement in children with NF1. So these charts show how their standard scores in math, reading, writing change with age. For example, in Figure A, you'll see math scores on the y-axis and age on the x-axis. The mean standard score is in the general population is 100. This line, the blank line here shows the estimated mean math scores in children with NF1, and from these figures we can see children with NF1 tend to have a lower score than their peers across all age groups, and the gaps also widen from mid-childhood to mid-adolescence. We also looked at the differences within the NF1 population to see if some groups faced bigger challenges than others. For example, these charts show how reading skills vary across age in different NF1 groups. So these are the lines for different groups. We found that boys tend to have more difficulties than girls. Children from families with less parental education face more challenges than those with higher parental education. And children with familial NF1 and plexiformal neurofibromas, a common type of NF1 tumor, also tend to struggle more. To summarize, individuals with NF1 tend to experience challenges across neurobehavioral domains. Some challenges, like academic difficulties, emerge early and worsen from childhood to adolescence. These findings underscore the importance of early and sustained support. Developing timely and developmentally appropriate interventions tailored for individuals with NF1 is critical. For example, an app like a Baby Center specifically designed for NF1 could provide a developmental blueprint and caregiving tips. Our message to policymakers and health professionals is clear. Please increase resources and support to improve the neurobehavioral function of the NF1 community. To patients and families, know that you are not alone. Let's face these challenges together and work towards resilience. So what is resilience? Resilience refers to the ability to adapt, recover, and thrive in the face of adversity, challenges, or stress. It is a dynamic process rather than a fixed trait. When facing with the same difficulties, some people adapt better than others. In our research, we have found significant individual differences in how people with NF1 handle neurobehavioral challenges. While individuals with NF1 are on average more likely to face difficulties, many of them excel in certain areas, demonstrating remarkable resilience. So to help individuals with NF1 build resilience, we need to understand what affects their neurobehavioral function, both positively and negatively. The biopsychosocial model of mental health gives us a useful way to think about this. It looks at three main areas, including biological factors like genetic traits that might make some people more vulnerable to certain challenges. Psychological factors like their ability to cope with stress. Social factors like support from family, friends, and their school environment. For example, imagine a child with NF1 who feels anxious at school. They might have a genetic tendency to feel more anxious, a biological factor. They may not yet have strong skills to manage their anxiety, a psychological factor. And their classroom may be noisy or overwhelming, making it harder for them to feel calm, a social factor. By understanding and addressing these interconnected factors, we can better support people with NF1, helping them build resilience and thrive despite their challenges. So my lab is conducting 2 studies to examine these factors. The Cognitive Aging Project aims to understand cognitive aging patterns and their biopsychosocial predictors among middle-aged and older adults with NF1. The SMART-NF1 project aims to track adolescents' daily neurobehavioral function to explore how social, psychological, and lifestyle factors influence their well-being. Both projects are conducted remotely and open for enrollment. So if you are interested, you can scan these QR codes to complete a screening survey and provide contact information. Let's take a closer look at the Cognitive Aging Project. So our main research question is, who among individuals with NF1 is more likely to experience healthier cognitive aging? To answer this, we are collecting detailed information about their cognitive abilities and potential factors that may influence cognitive function, including demographics, NF1-related disease factors, like physical complications, symptom severity, symptom visibility, and pain, and social factors such as emotions, sense of purpose, coping skills, personality, and social support. Research on cognitive aging in NF1 is extremely limited, so the findings from our study will be crucial for improving how we manage, care for, and develop interventions to support the cognitive health of adults with NF1. To participate in our study, individuals need to meet a few criteria. they must have a diagnosis of NF1, be 40 years or older, live in the United States, and be able to read and understand English. Participation involves a 30 minutes virtual interview and a 1-hour online survey. As a thank you, participants will receive $40. So far, we have tested about 200 people, but we are looking for 300 more. So we would be incredibly grateful if you could help us spread the word. Okay, now let's discuss the SMART-NF1 project. This study focused on adolescents' daily neurobehavioral function, including cognition, emotion, and behavior, and how these vary across time and context. Specifically, we examine the role of social factors like relationships with the parents, teachers, peers, psychological factors like stress, coping, self-compassion, and lifestyle factors such as the physical activity, sleep. We also include open-ended survey questions to capture participants' perceptions of adolescents' strengths and their thoughts on how to improve well-being for families with NF1. Enrollment for this study opened last month, and we aim to recruit at least 140 adolescents. Eligible participants must have an NF1 diagnosis, be aged 13 to 17 years old, have a third grade or higher level of English comprehension, live in the USA, and have access to a smartphone. Here's an overview of our data collection process. So families start by completing a short screening survey. If eligible, we'll schedule an online meeting with the adolescent and the parent to confirm participation and collect consent and assent form. Then parents will complete a 20 minutes online survey, while adolescents complete a 40 minutes survey. After that, we will mail a feedback to the family for the adolescent to use for activity tracking. Once the feedback has arrived, we will host an online session to help set up the study apps and feedback. Adolescents will also have a 2-day training period to get comfortable with the devices. Then we will start the 14-day ecological momentum assessment, EMA data collection, which is a cool part. On school days, adolescents complete 3 surveys each day, 2 quick surveys about 6 minutes each before and after school, and an 8 minutes nightly survey after dinner. On long school days, adolescents complete 4 surveys, 3 quick surveys timed around breakfast, lunch, and late afternoon, and the nightly survey after dinner. This process ensures we gather detailed real-time data to better understand adolescents' daily activities, conditions, emotions, and behaviors. Oh, and I forgot to mention, so participants can get up to $220 as a thank you for this study. The results of these projects can guide us on what, when, and how to intervene to improve neurobehavioral functioning in people with NF1. One exciting example is the potential for personalized, just-in-time adaptive interventions using smartphone and wearable devices. So the real-time data collected in the SMART-NF1 project will help us understand daily neurobehavioral patterns and their immediate triggers. This knowledge can be used to create interventions tailored to individuals' moment-to-moment needs, providing support exactly when it's needed. Here's some example. Wearables like a Fitbit could monitor changes in heart rate variability to identify signs of hyperactivity. When detected, The system could suggest strategies like a quick physical activity break or a mindful exercise to help regulate energy level. And here's another example. If our data shows that a child consistently struggles to focus on homework and a specific time, the system could recommend a brief guided focus exercise beforehand, improving the productivity and reducing cognitive fatigue. So these personalized technology-driven interventions could make a real difference, offering timely and practical support to help individuals with NF1 thrive in their daily lives. Building on these projects, we hope to collaborate with others to develop and evaluate intervention programs that improve neurobehavioral functioning and promote resilience among individuals with NF1. We also plan to follow participants in the cognitive aging and SMART-NF1 projects for as many years as possible, creating longitudinal natural history data sets. These datasets will help us understand how NF1 and its effects evolve over a person's lifespan, offering insights into long-term patterns and needs. We will also collect ecological momentary data in adults with NF1 to inform just-in-time adaptive intervention for the adult population. Additionally, we hope to further investigate how biological factors like genetic traits interact with environmental factors to affect neurobehavioral function of individuals with NF1. Finally, we want to understand how NF1 affects the entire family, including the mental health of family members and family relationships like those between spouses and siblings. If you are interested in these topics or have ideas for collaboration, I'd love to hear from you. Let's work together to deepen our understanding of neurobehavioral function of individuals with NF1 and improve support for them. So in conclusion, research to date has shown that individuals with NF1 often experience significant neurobehavioral challenges. Early and ongoing intervention surveys are urgently needed. However, we are still determining exactly what, when, and how to intervene effectively. Patients and families can play a big role in moving this research forward. First and foremost, more patients need to participate in research studies. We need more participants to make sure our findings are accurate and useful. Sharing information about studies and encouraging others to join can make a big difference. Second, patients can collaborate with researchers. Patients can share ideas about what's most important to study, help improve study designs, and provide feedback to make materials easier to understand. For example, I have received valuable input from patients' representatives for my NF1 research. Third, patients can engage with advocacy groups, organizations like Children's Tumor Foundation, NF Network, NF Midwest, and Penis Flight Foundation offer support for families, give patients a chance to share their experiences, and push for more NF1 research funding. Together, we can better understand the challenges, explore solutions, and promote resilience in the NF1 community. Thank you for your time and support. I'd like to leave you with a quote from Penis Flight Foundation. Expand knowledge around NF while inspiring others to find beauty in imperfection, positivity in the face of challenge, and faith over fear. Thank you. I look forward to hearing your questions, comments, or suggestions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ho. That was very interesting. And we did get several questions. And then I have one of my own, but I'll save it to the end and see what we have. But we should have some time because it's still early. So thank you very much. So to start, oh, and looks like we have more questions coming in. That's great. I will quickly say that if we don't get to a question that you've submitted, please know that I have all of these questions in digital format, and we can always follow up with folks after our event today. So first, from Michael Pieper, who is I happen to know, the father of a kiddo with NF1. He asks, are there any challenges to doing neurobehavioral NF research that are unique to NF, so that wouldn't apply necessarily to other rare diseases?
I think I actually collaborate with Michael Pepper before. So he help, yeah, he provide lots of valuable information I have for my research. Yeah. So I actually I did not study other rare disease so far. So I don't have personal experience like for this question. However, I do know like different diseases do have, I think rare diseases have some similarities. So the challenge to recruit participants is the number one for researchers. I think how to reach to more people, get more people to participate. But there's also unique challenges for each disease, because each disease have different difficulties or challenges, and the manifestations, physical manifestation, neuroinflammation are vary. So I don't think it's the findings can be applied or the experience can be applied to all type of disease, but definitely we could learn from each other. Studying NF1 the experience could also be applied to studying some other type of rare disease, and likewise the experience of other disease may also help us learn how to better understand our experience with NF1. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. That was wonderful. So another question that came through, this is maybe a kind of a simple one, hopefully. So Kathy Ray asks, I have participated in several different studies. How do I know if I have already done this one? How would they find out?
So different studies, but they have different study descriptions. So if you don't remember each study, definitely you can still reach out to the study team, say, hey, I'm interested, but have I already participated? So by providing your contact information, the study team will be able to search their data set to see if you're already in their data set. Yeah.
Excellent. And so just so everyone knows, when we're all done, I will be dropping some information into the chat where everyone can see how to get in touch with Dr. Ho and her team. So thank you. Okay, so our next question comes from Catherine. She said, have you noticed a lot of individual, or no, she states, you have noticed a lot of individual variation. Have you identified any subgroup of dual exceptional children? In this context, I mean children diagnosed as gifted or high IQ plus a condition like ADHD or other learning disability. And I assume she means within NF1.
Mm-hmm. So you know what, we are in the process of doing this analysis. So for my AM3 for the integral data analysis, we actually want to analyze how there's different compilations, subgroups with different compilations. So we don't have the results yet. So I look forward to see what the results look like. But based on my knowledge, my hypothesis is that we will see a group that may have even IQ is good, have good IQ, but still have the learning difficulties. So I would expect we would see this type of combinations. Yeah. But I will keep you guys posted once we have the results.
Wonderful. And actually, I'll slide my question in now because that's what I was going to talk about. So considering just sort of the breadth of data that you're hoping to collect and the number of folks you're hoping to enroll, et cetera, what do you anticipate? Obviously, I guess it's hard to be specific, but what do you anticipate in terms of a timeline where you might be ready to turn around and publish some of the data that you're collecting?
So for the for the meta-analysis project and the integrated data project, the first project, we are already actively publishing papers. So we have a few publications that are already available online. So I have also posted the link on our website. So if you want to read these publications, you can go to my website, see under the publication page, I have included links to the accepted version of these papers that are already, accepted by journals. And we also have presented other additional findings in conferences, let's say the NF1 Global Conference, and we also presented in the conferences. And we are also in the process of prepare these papers submitted for journals. So hopefully when the paper is, I really like promote open science practice. So I think as soon as our paper is drafted in good shape, and ready to submit, I would love to share them like the preprint in my website or in the this preprint like sharing websites or data resources, so you can have early access to these findings if you're interested. Yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. And we'll stay in touch because I also like to share publications that have come out through the NF registry. So Dr. Ho has used the registry to promote the recruitment of this. And so if you're not familiar with the registry and you're on this call today, please consider visiting nfregistry.org to learn more about how you might be involved in that. So that's another way to stay in tune with what's happening.
Yeah, and to add to the question, like for the two projects we are still recruiting, that really depends on like how many people participant and how long it take to collect all the data we needed. Because as I mentioned, very like a limited impact study is if we don't have a large enough sample, it's hard to actually show a accurate picture. So it's really important we get the large enough sample to conduct all this type of analysis and then to tell us the more precise information. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And then the next question is from Stephen Sheard, and he asks, is there evidence of a correlation between NF1 genotype and the level or patterns of neurocognitive function? And if that evidence isn't available yet, is this something you're looking at?
Well, that's a great question. We actually just had a multidisciplinary group meeting like last October for all people study behavioral cognition in NF1 from using different models like animal models of human data. So, and we want to understand whether there's a correlation, like whether there's genetic characteristics that are associated with different neurobehavioral functioning. So right now, I think we don't have a clear answer yet. So, but that's definitely something I'm very interested to look at in our future research. Yeah.
Wonderful. And then I have a few questions that kind of all fall under eligibility, so I'll sort of group them together. We have a parent asking how long you'll be recruiting because their child will be 13, but not until May. And then another parent asking whether a child being on medication for ADHD would exclude them from participating.
No, we do not exclude participants based on their medication status. Yeah, we want to include as as broad as possible. We don't want to exclude. I know in many other studies, especially when it's a clinical trial, they want to make the inclusion criteria more more strict so they could have a more pure study effects. But for my study, it's kind of observational. So we want to include people with different experiences, so we could get a more broad or holistic picture of this population. So everyone who meet the criteria that we listed will be eligible to participate, regardless of medication or other physical complication. Yeah. As for the age part,
yeah.
We hope that we could complete data collection by May, but that's I don't know. So we very likely we will continue to collect data this fall for the youth project. So you still have opportunity to participate. Yeah.
And we will continue to send the
Mhm.
information on how to participate through the NF registry as well. So for those of you who are a part of that or want to consider becoming part of it, my contact information will be in the chat at the end, and I'm happy to talk to you. So as recruitment continues, you'll continue to hear about it through that resource as well. So the next question, Herb Sarnoff asks, based on your research, do you believe there's enough data to convince schools to evaluate all kids with NF1 for an IEP or a 504? And maybe to sort of add to that question, it's how can research like what you are doing
Mhm.
be helpful to parents when they're kind of fighting that battle with their children's local schools?
Yes, I think we are in the process of want to do this type of screening. So I think, like I mentioned in our meeting last October, we have as a group, we realized that right now there's not like a screening for neurobehavioral functioning for in clinics or in schools, and there's various barriers that have hold us on this, but we are working on to address these barriers. For example, we are working on, we plan to develop screening tools that can be very easily used by clinicians and schools. So they have the tool to do it. And meanwhile, we hope we can also like talk with policymakers to make them like make this easier for families to access this resource and to be able to do it. Yeah, so there's multiple things we still need to do to make it easier, and we need to do it together. Yeah, researchers, patients, and families, and these all some organizations and CTF and many other community members. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. Thank you. Another question comes from Chris, saying that in their experience with their own daughter, who does have some learning disabilities and NF1, that depending on the accommodations that she's receiving in school, her scores and how she's doing will change. And so do you think that that is that something you're studying in your project, or that you've seen where when those accommodations are in place, children are able to improve their testing and scores?
That's something I'm interested to look, but right now we don't have the data yet. So for the integrated data, so for that big data set we combined, so we have some information about the school accommodations, but we don't have the details to show when it works and how it works. So we still need to collect data to answer this question. I think one of my postdocs in my lab are actually applying for grant to look further depths in how these various factors affect learning in daily life. So that's what I think. Hopefully, like if we get funding for that project, I think his project will be able to answer this question about this how school accommodation or various supports may help the daily learning experience of children. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really wonderful. And so then because there were several questions that were similar, where parents or caregivers were expressing a little like, oh, my kid is only 10 or 11. Curious, why 13?
Oh, great question. Yeah. So why we set up these age cutoffs, my lab really wants to examine the lifespan. So we are not only interested in these specific groups, but the particular reason for this use project, like is 13, is because like the Fitbit, according to the Fitbit guidance, it requires like your case is 18 years old to act and collective from your children. So that's it's a part of like some technical issue or like a policy issues related. So like for this project, I want to start with like a 13 years old. But in the future, I promise I will conduct research to include the younger children, because that's always, the lifespan is always my interest. So I will for sure to develop some research project to also include younger children. And actually, we do see that there's a gap and there's limited studies on the younger side and the older side. So we will have more research on this. Yeah.
Yes, well, you heard it here first, guys. She's going to keep going, and there are going to be studies for everyone, no matter their age. So
Mhm.
our next question actually comes from one of my coworkers, Irene, and so she's asking, are you considering performing any longitudinal biomarker assessments to accompany some of the neurobehavioral endpoints that you've mentioned?
Um, I think that would be interesting to include, biomarkers. That's not the strength of my lab. So, but I do interested in collaborate with some other scholars. We do have as I mentioned, we are part of we just have a multidisciplinary group who have different strengths. Like some people are studying biomarkers, and we do hope to create some collaborative projects so we could look at all these different areas of factor, not just focus on one. So that's something I'm definitely interested in the future. Yeah.
Thank you. And just so everybody knows, since I asked that without context, really all we mean when we say a biomarker is a biological characteristic, something that can be physically measured that could help diagnose or treat some kind of a disorder or a disease. So a biomarker could be something as simple as blood pressure, but it could also be much more complex about, something that they can find in a blood draw and et cetera. So just to kind of do a quick definition of that for everyone. So I think we'll do one more question. And before I ask it, I just want to say one more time that for those of you whose questions were not addressed, I do have them, and my contact information will be in the chat in a little bit here. And I'm always happy to hear from people, so you can always reach out to me directly if you have questions that didn't get addressed today, and I can either pass them along to Dr. Ho and her team, or respond as I'm able. So the last question I wanted to share is from William, who's asking, do you see a difference? And I think you mentioned this in your presentation, that you're looking at the impact on the family. And so the question is, do you see a difference in the kind of educational attainment and the skills of children whose parents are not affected by NF1 and have maybe very high educational backgrounds? So parents who've completed 4 years of college or have a master's degree, does that seem to have any impact on the performance of these kids?
Oh, of course. That's a very observation in our data. So we found families who have a higher socioeconomic status, whose parents have higher education. Their kids, even though their kids have NF1, their kids tend to perform better than those families who have lower parental education. Yeah. So this actually tell us there's people and the intersection of who face multiple challenges in their life, like whether it's from the NF1 or from the socioeconomic background, if they belong to these multiple disadvantaged groups, so they would have even more challenges. And I think support are particularly needed to these groups. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you so much again, Dr. Ho, for being here today. I think it was incredibly interesting, and a lot of people had great questions for you. And so for those that we did not get to, as I said, please reach out to me, and I'm happy to share. I'm gonna let you stop being on the spotlight for a sec. So I'm just going to do some housekeeping. I want to share some things with everyone. I'm also dropping some things into the chat as I'm speaking. So be sure to look there for some more information. So to learn more about Dr. Ho's research, I've dropped some links in that chat, including the email address that gets you directly to her team. And so you can reach out there to ask questions, to learn more, and to see about getting involved, or to find out if you've already participated. The NF Knowledge series, which is what this is part of, will be presented every month with a new topic. This month, we focus on a topic specific to NF1, but that will change, and sometimes it will be specific to other conditions or more broadly relevant to the entire community. So please stay tuned for future webinars as we continue to announce those. And if you enjoyed today's presentation, I want to encourage you to consider looking at your calendars and joining us for the NF Summit, which is June 19th to the 21st in Washington, D.C. This is CTF's flagship annual gathering for patients and families families affected by NF or impacted by NF. And it's a really fantastic opportunity to hear the latest in NF research and clinical care, as well as to connect with the rest of the community. And you can learn more about the NF Summit at very easy nfsummit.org. And you can also reach out to me directly with questions. To make sure that you're hearing about everything going on with CTF, whether that's webinars like this one, the NF Summit, and more, please consider visiting our website at ctf.org/newsletter and signing up to receive our emails. I also mentioned earlier the NF Registry. This is a IRB-approved research natural history study. It's an online database that allows for patients and caregivers to enter their own health data directly into the system. And it is a great way to get involved in research. You can consent to be contacted to hear about opportunities like what we heard today. It's a wonderful way to get involved, and I'm happy to talk about that with anyone as well. So I've given you a lot of announcements. I'm just going to put my direct email in the chat right now. You can find me at kkeltz@ctf.org. I wear a lot of hats at CTF, so you're welcome to reach out to me about anything you heard today. And if I'm not the one to answer your questions, I will make sure to find the right person for you. So again, a big thank you to Dr. Ho for her presentation and for her incredible work in this space, and to everyone who joined us today for taking some time to sign in, to ask questions, and to be a part of CTF's broad family and community. We really appreciate your time and look forward to seeing you at future NF Knowledge Series events. Thank you, everyone, and have a fantastic day.